The outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent lockdowns and restrictions on movements worldwide caused the micro, small and medium-sized enterprises sector massive losses. Yes, not just MSMEs. Everybody, I think, felt that the impact of that. Well, in several cases, SMEs and SaaS businesses have had to lay off employees or shut down completely, while businesses have been on the recovery mode for a few financial quarters. Now, new challenges, including Russia and Ukraine conflict and inflation, are again testing the resilience of MSMEs. As the world observes the annual MSME Day celebration today, with the theme Resilience and Rebuilding MSMEs for Sustainable Development, governments and non-governmental organizations have been urged to be recognized or to recognize the significance of MSMEs in attaining sustainable development goals, encouraging innovation and providing livelihoods to local communities. I introduced him earlier, and he is live in the studio. He's a major player in the MSME space. He's the founder of MSME Africa, Mr. Sheye Olurotimi. Good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Happy
again today.
MSME Day.
Thank you very much for that.
well, I'm looking at this theme. You know, we're talking behind the cameras before we came up. Resilience and rebuilding MSMEs for sustainable development. Take us through what this stands for.
Okay, so basically, let's just go a little bit down the history lane. So the first MSME Day was celebrated in 2017. That was when the United Nations approved that that day, June 27, 2017.
2017?
Some 5 years ago.
So 5 years ago.
So this is the fifth time we're celebrating.
So close.
Yes, so United Nations approved that day as the day, the National Day for MSME, okay. International Day for MSME. That's June 27. Yep. And so this is the fifth time we're celebrating. And this year we're saying resilience and recovery. Yeah. I'm talking about the role of MSMEs in sustainable development. So that's just saying that how can we contribute to sustainable development goals? And this is building on the theme for last year. The theme for last year was something around sustainable recovery, inclusive and sustainable recovery. And I'm sure you know why that was, because we're talking about recovery from COVID-19 and every other thing that happened. Now we're talking about how we can work around contributing to sustainable development goals. But I'm sure you'll agree with me that even it looks like we are still in recovery mode. Yeah, we recovered from COVID-19, but a lot of things are also happening right now. We talk about inflation, talk about the forex rate, talk about the Russia and Ukraine crisis. But all the same, we're talking about sustainable development and MSMEs. If I want to look at those goals, I will look at 4 main goals, SDGs, that MSMEs are addressing. And I'm sure we're addressing more than 4, actually, but the 4 that I think, the main ones that I think MSMEs are addressing is SDG 8, which talks about economic growth. And then SDG 1, which talks about no poverty. SDG 2 talks about zero hunger. Then SDG 9 talks about industry and infrastructure and innovation. So you can agree with me that MSMEs play a major role in economic growth. And that's why we're saying, what can MSME do? What can they do a lot better in contributing to sustainable development goals that will help us achieve this sustainable development? That's pretty much what the team for this year is all about.
A lot of impact there coming from COVID-19, and we find ourselves here, and like you rightly identified, the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and of course, issues around inflation, which is making all central banks increase interest rates. How is this hitting on MSME players?
It's hitting badly, and I'm sure you will agree. So people would say it's not just Nigeria.
It's a global issue.
It's a global issue, but let me break it down a little.
Okay.
Okay, so people would say the cost of energy has gone up. It's not just Nigeria, it's in the UK, it's everywhere. But you will agree with me that the average MSME, the average person in Nigeria needs fuel, needs diesel, needs petrol, not just for their cars. They need it to power their offices, which is not a problem over there. So we have a lot of dependence on these things. You will need fuel to power your house, to power your office, to also fuel your car. But over there, they have effective mass transit systems, so they don't have to bother about, not all of them will drive their car every day. They don't need to bother about energy. Providing energy, providing fuel to power their offices over there, because those things are given. So when you say it's not just a Nigerian thing, I agree, but the impact on the average Nigerian is a lot more than other people. Now let's talk about the impact again. The figure for the number of MSMEs, according to the survey in 2017, was 41.5. And you will agree that we would keep increasing in number. But sadly enough, the figure that were released early this year, talking about the survey conducted in 2020, showed that the number of MSMEs has actually decreased from 41.5 million to 39.6 million. That's like less than 2 million. And you will agree that it's not even the 2 million that are actually falling off the way. Because between that 2017 and 2020, maybe like 3 million other people are MSMEs have added to the numbers. But now we are saying that we are even about 2 million short of what we had before. And that tells you that it's biting hard, it's eating hard, and we need to really, really pay a lot of attention to it. People are not able to power their offices. Jobs are being lost. Inflation is, I don't even know what to say. So it's a big, big thing happening to MSM. It's a serious one that we need to address. It's an emergency, really.
Well, you see, when we identify challenges, I'm a fan of trying to provide some solutions to this, because I know MSMEs face issues around working conditions, around productivity, support from government, issues about taxes and levies,
a lot of them,
and all of this. But when you look at all of this, many will tell you that Nigerians are resilient people. Nigerians are. How then, with all of these challenges, how can MSMEs contribute to productivity? How can they add more to the GDP of the economy with all of these challenges?
It's a tough call. But the major thing I want the government to do, nobody is saying government come and do everything for us.
True.
Provide the enabling environment for this resilient set of people so that they can thrive. Just provide the environment. Government has no business running businesses, right? People have always said that. But just provide the right environment for the players. Let them have what it takes to run their businesses without the tax authorities chasing them all over. Let them have full knowledge of what the taxes they are meant to pay. And I really want to commend government. I mean, some part of, when it comes to tax now, if you're doing between 1 and 25 million in revenue, you're not paying taxes. So that's a good one. But I think we want to see a lot more transparency and a lot more clarity with regards to tax administration for MSMEs. So if the government provides that enabling environment and actually incentivize the private sector, we will have a lot of impact from the MSMEs. Give it to the private sector. Give them what they need to drive the sector. Things will happen. Just provide the necessary regulatory framework, the necessary environment, the things that will not make life hard for them, the ease of doing business. Make all of those things available, and you can see the MSME is really doing what they should do.
When we say some MSMEs are out of the space, we talked about almost 2 million when we look at the figures of, many will say that considering what happened with COVID and all of that, we see a lot of working from home, we see a lot of online presence, and even business people are now so very much online. I buy so many things online now because I just see what I want. Once it meets the quality, you will have issues with quality at times.
Definitely.
But if it meets up, where I'm going actually is that how well are you guys taking advantage of, we talk about this most times when we have you on the show, about taking advantage of the technological developments across board, online presence. This is also somewhere I think much money can be made.
Exactly, and I would want to believe that it's actually because of the online presence and the digital possibilities that we don't have more than 2 million people that have dropped off. I want to believe, if not for the fact that we are taking advantage of online presence and digital possibilities and transformation of business via digital, you probably have had like 10 million people 10 million MSMEs drop off that number that we had in 2017. Because really people are latching onto those opportunities. People are making use of social media, the digital space. Even a report by Faith Foundation last year showed that a lot of people are taking advantage of the digital space. So we have a lot more entrepreneurs coming on board. So if you talk about taking advantage of digital, I think we are doing a lot with that. And that's why the situation has not been worse than it is right now.
Let's go back to funding. I'm a business person. I like funding. We need to fund MSMEs. That's the way you guys can do better. Now, we see a lot of openings. We've seen, there was one time we had the MSME Survival Fund.
Yes,
we can go on and on with all of this support being coming, even from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Now, how does this really trickle down to those running these businesses? Because at times we hear large amounts of money is being mentioned by this developmental financial institutions, but how well does it get to those that really need this funding?
Okay, so the thing is that the money actually gets to some people, but I don't think it's getting to as many people that
Can we
would
put a
need it.
percentage to it?
I'm not able to do that, and I
Okay.
don't want to
Okay.
put a figure
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I
that
can't
won't be.
defend.
I agree.
And that's why it is necessary that we do monitoring and evaluation. It's not something we do a lot here. We talk about disbursement of, I think, about 100 billion survivor fund. There is the 75 billion
Yeah.
youth, I think is the youth investment fund, a lot of them. But are we doing monitoring and evaluation to say, okay, even the trader money, the market money, how much was given, how much was returned? We don't do monitoring and evaluation. So we're not able to put figures to these things, and that's a big, big problem. Let's be able to do monitoring, evaluation. Let's have report on this so that we can know how well they trickle down. Then also, the figure that I gave you about MSMEs, 39.6 million, 38.4 of them are the micro people. Only 1.2 are the small and medium. So when we design the intervention and we are focusing on the small and medium, who are just about 3% or 4%, and we're not looking at the woman that sells fish by the roadside. We're not looking at those people that are in the micro sector. We are not going to make impact, and that is what is happening. It's not trickling out to the barest minimum, to the very people that are making up the largest chunk of the bracket. Because when you ask them for statement of account and some things that they would not have, it means that the people in the small and medium sector are the ones that will benefit from this thing, while 97% of the old bracket will not get anything. And so that's why we need to pay attention to the micro people. Now we're not even talking about micro alone. According to Smithland, now we have the nano and the homestead. So they are the smallest players that need to be taken care of. If we do that, then we'll see the effect a lot more.
Let's go to innovativeness, creativity. Many will talk about Nigerian products. Some will tell you, I like the product, but the packaging is the problem that I have. Some will say, oh, this is so, but it doesn't really meet my standard. And that is why we have this, we crave for foreign goods and services, and it continues to hit us badly. Look at what we're talking about Forex earlier, even for importers of petroleum products, they can't even get Forex. So how better can our MSME operators be so that they meet up? Yes, I think we see some shoes now, some suits that really meet up, but we need to do more. Don't you think
so we talk about the people in Aba who manufacture shoes and they are supplying. I think they are supplying some other African countries.
Yeah.
So when you go to the East particularly, you see a lot of productivity. So it tells us that we can actually do a lot more than we are doing. We are too import dependent, and that's a big, big problem. AFTA came to solve that problem, but how well are we taking advantage of AFTA? That's the African Continental Trade Area that was launched some 2 years ago, thereabout. So if we want to be able to compete, we must be very creative and innovative. But the environment also affects creativity and innovation when it comes to doing business. Does the environment afford us a lot of room to be creative? And at the same time, even when you are creating things, when you are producing within the country, and you are not able to compete with other people because of the cost that it involves, producing something in Nigeria and you want to export to other countries in Africa, and they found out that by the time you send it over to them, it's a lot more expensive than what they are producing, and they will not buy what you are producing. So we might not be able to have that comparative advantage because the cost of power, the cost of infrastructure, by the time you factor all of that into what you are producing here and you want to export to other places, it has taken a large chunk of your cost that you are going to transfer to whoever buys. So we are really battling a lot of things, such that even when you are creative, the environment is stifling whatever you're doing.
What's your outlook for this space as we move on in 2022, despite all of these challenges?
Yeah, like I always say every time I come here, I tell you I'm an optimist.
Yeah, you are.
I'm an optimist. So I don't believe it's just going to be all gloom and what have you. I believe that people are getting to know that they need to take their destinies in their hands.
Yeah.
And the more we do that, the more we focus on what we can do for ourselves. And I think that will tell on what we're doing in the MSME ecosystem and the whole space altogether. So I believe we're going to thrive. We're a resilient set of people. We're a strong set of people. And I so believe that things are going to get better. I believe so. Government should just provide the enabling environment. Watch what the MSMEs could. You can see what the startup guys are doing.
Yeah.
You can see how they get funding, attract a lot of FDIs into the country.
Yeah, it is.
That tells you what an average youth, an average Nigerian can do. Give us the environment and we'll thrive.
I must thank you so much. Brilliant conversation there. I've been speaking to Mr. Sheye Olurotimi. He's the founder of MSME Africa there, talking about the World MSME Day 2022 and, of course, roles, prospects, challenges of MSMEs major global disruptions across the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Happy MSME Day again to you.
Thank you very much. It's always a delight to be here.
All right then.